Hi, everybody. It's Coach DeAngelis. It's Tuesday, February 16th. We're a little less than 2 weeks away from the first practice for the Long Branch Middle School wrestling team. This is our second virtual meeting of the year. In our first meeting, we reviewed how to register online, how to download and print the necessary paperwork for a physical, and we talked a little bit about the importance of being a part of Long Branch Middle School wrestling and just in general, whether it's recreation, middle school, or high school, that wave wrestling tradition. Today's meeting is going to focus on our practice procedures, what exactly you need to do as the wrestler, and parents and guardians, what you need to be aware of when we start practice on the first week of March, Monday, March 1st. Now, before we get to the slide presentation, I just want to quickly remind everybody out there that the middle school is offering physicals on Thursday, February 25th. Please come to the middle school at 11:30. If you're not already a student in the building that day, please make sure when you come to the building, you're wearing your mask and bring the appropriate paperwork signed, already filled out. And we're going to help you get physicals so that you can get on the mat next week or on the next week. So let me share my screen and let's review some of these wrestling practice informational slides to just get everybody prepared for Monday, March 1st. So on Monday, March 1st, that's our first day of practice. We practice 5 days a week. Report time is 2:45 in the afternoon. Please make sure you enter using the gym entrance. We practice in the auxiliary gym, the smaller gym. We want you to report at 2:45. And here's the reason why. We're going to take attendance and we're going to do our temperature checks in that 15-minute window before we actually get on the mat at 3 p.m. So we want you to please be there on time, 2:45. We're going to use that 15-minute window for attendance, temp checks, and then we're going to get ourselves on the mat. For the first full week of practice, Monday, March 1st through Friday, March 5th, practice is going to end at 5 o'clock. After the 5th, the coaching staff is going to sit down and reassess and see if we need to have a different end time for practice. But for that first full week, we end at 5, and parents and guardians and wrestlers will let you know if there are any changes moving forward after the 5th. Now, yes, a lot of things are different this year. One of the things that you'll realize is when the bell would ring last year, you would get down to the auxiliary gym, we'd roll out the mats, and we would get into the locker room and begin practice. Well, this year, when the bell rings, whether you're in person or you're logging off at home, there's going to be a window between the time school ends and practice starts. So please be sure that you can get to the school at 2:45, but you can't come to the school any earlier. The coaching staff, we have responsibilities when the student school day ends, whether we're in meetings or we're working on lesson plans, and we're not available to meet you there until 2:45. So please just keep that in mind. With that being said, 2:45 might be a tricky time for parents and guardians to give you a ride to practice. They could have other responsibilities at that time. So we're encouraging you to ride your bike to practice. If the weather permits, please do so. You'll be able to bring your bike into the school building. We'll put it right outside the wrestling room doors where it will be safe and no one will get to it. All right. Also, more importantly, probably more important than riding your bike, is wearing your mask. Please make sure you come to practice with your mask on. When we're doing our attendance check, when we're doing our temperature check, and even at some points during practice, when we're meeting and discussing, even perhaps during conditioning to be determined, we're going to ask you to wear your mask. So it's really important that you have your mask with you at all times when you're at practice. Also, equally important, bring your own water bottle. Put a piece of masking tape on it. Please make sure you label it with a Sharpie. We're not to share any water this year whatsoever. We used to do it out of the sports bottles, but we're not doing that this year. So please make sure you bring your own water and make sure you bring enough of it. Finally, in this last slide, again, weather permitting, we're going to go outside and do some running. We never want to run in our wrestling shoes. So please make sure you bring running shoes, running sneakers, okay? Worst case scenario, we'll run in the hallways, but we still don't want to run in wrestling shoes. So please make sure you bring your sneaks. And if you have them, wrestling shoes. In our first virtual meeting, we said if you don't have shoes, we have several gently used donated pairs that we'll be more than willing to offer you if you don't have them. Another thing, and this is year in and year out, regardless of any current health concerns, we always ask you to bring a change of clothes after every practice. You never want to go home in the car or maybe ride your bike home in the sweaty shirt that you just used for practice. Always have a clean change of clothes with you after practice ends. Two last things. A big part of being on any team, not just a wrestling team, but a big part of being on any sports team is the camaraderie and the teammates and being together. And a lot of the time we would hang out after practice officially ended. We'd hang out in the wrestling room. We'd talk about practice. We'd talk about upcoming matches. We're still going to develop camaraderie. We're still going to develop our sense of togetherness, but we can't do that after practice like we used to. Okay, it's really important that you either hop on your bike at 5 or that your parents or guardians are outside of the school waiting for you at 5. The custodial staff has a major task in front of them to make sure that the wrestling room or the auxiliary gym is prepared the next day for phys ed classes and for our wrestling practice. So instead of us being able to hang out in the room, maybe get a little extra go in, we're going to have to make sure that we leave on time every night. And finally, something positive, right? Make sure you bring your Wave Wrestling passion to each and every practice, whether it's your first year coming out for the team, or maybe you're a third year, 8th grader who can't wait to have his or her last season on the mat. Just make sure you bring your passion every day and you do the best that you can. Again, as we alluded to in our first video, things might be different, but when the whistle blows and practice starts, it's still going to be wrestling, and it's still a sport that we all love and enjoy being a part of. So that concludes the second virtual meeting for the Long Branch Middle School wrestling team. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. You can find my email address on the school website, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for all your support, and we'll see you on Monday, March 5th, 2:45, ready to roll.